What's that? I'm just gonna start. Okay. Okay, let's start, everybody. Let's start. Thank you so much. We got a very full agenda today, so we're gonna go ahead and start. So I'm Austin Taylor with the Central City Neighborhood Council. Thank you guys for all coming today for our April meeting. We've got a big agenda. We're gonna get our normal city and community updates, but then after that, we will be doing a tour of the library rooftop, which you guys probably came for. It's so exciting. We'll be some of the first normal people to go and see that, so that's fun. Normal non-construction workers. And then we've got one big zoning proposal. There's a developer proposing to rezone something into the D1 zone, which is the downtown, really tall height limit zone that we'll look at, and then just other zoning discussions that we've got today. So as usual, let's go around and do quick introductions. State your name and why you're here today. So I'll start. Austin Taylor. I'm on the board of Central City Neighborhood Council. I live at about 7th South and 4th East.
Yeah, I'll go on Councilmember Chavez, and I live in East Central of 3rd and near 15.
Chris Altiel, I'm the chair of the transportation committee, or the lead, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And I live at 400 East Side of town.
I'm Brandy Burnham. I'm the public safety committee chair in the CDC for I was trying to time, but I live at 7th South and 5th East, and
Yes, sir.
I'm Sarah Jordan. I'm a family in the city. That's the East Central City of 3rd South.
Julian Stemmer, I'm representing the developer for the zone change there.
Travis Stevens, I was years
Frank Frazel, main use committee chair and resident near Intersects.
Liz, I have a social media.
So Tim, advertising, president, year. Second is
Craig Roth, generally concerned citizen. I live around 7 South and 4.5 East.
Nancy Phillips, and I live a block south on the street. Interested in the redistricting business, I'm learning more about that, and of course, you have a referendum here. Say Connie, I'm sorry. What it was, don't read the words out.
I'm Stephen out of the City's Halls engagement response team.
Matthew Goodman, so I say part team as well.
Rebecca Allen, City's Homes team.
Go, Brent.
I'm Brent Anderson. I live on 3rd East and 1st South. And just a quick announcement, there's going to be a rally this Saturday at the Capitol building to protest some of the things that are going on in Washington. I've got a flyer if you want information about it.
Thanks, Brent. Cindy.
City Farmer, landlord, rebuilding land, cities.
Tim Cosgrove, citywide liaison for the mayor and district board.
Oh, sorry. Lauren, new resident, 300 South and
Annie Isaacson, resident, 300 South and
Thanks. Let's go in the back.
Bryce Stover, I live at the South East.
Friedman, also a concerned resident. I live on 7th South and 3rd East. Keelan Fellows, also resident. I live on 4th South and 3rd East.
Greg Redding, concerned resident. I live on 8 South and 6 East.
Mona Gray, and Greg and I live on Green Street, and
My residence, I live about 2 blocks that way, what's that way, I guess, and, yeah, just.
Hi there, I'm Daniel Navarro, and I'm the Chief Service and Impact Officer for the library, and I'm here to show you all the roof layer.
Nice. And then we got a few people online. Would you please introduce yourselves?
I'm Jenny Starley. I am the vice chair and live on 7th South and approximately 250 East.
I'll go next. I'm Marie Stewart. I'm the District 3 and 4 community liaison for the police department and the people who live in Districts 3 and 4.
I'm Dennis Ferris, work with VOA regarding concerns regarding homelessness.
I'm Allison Smith. I'm just a resident. I live on 4th East and around 8th South. And yeah.
I'm Barone Seabright. I am a resident. I live at 1st South and 5th East.
Thanks, everybody. So we've got our normal email newsletter sign up sheet. I'm going to pass this around, especially if you're here for the first time or you're not on our newsletter list. Please sign in on here. Pass it around.
You don't have to sign up for the newsletter. You can keep track of this here, so.
Yeah, we'll spam you. No, it's important information. That's how you find out about stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and start with our city updates. Let's turn it to Ava first. That's okay.
Does everybody have one of these? I have a few extra. Awesome. These are just some of the updates. Just real quick again, my name is Councilmember Ava Lopez Chavez. Really happy to be here. Last time I was here, talked about post legislative session. Today, we're starting to talk as a council about CBDG fundings. These are our federal funds that come through HUD. That's our housing apparatus at the federal level. And the city gets to help allocate these in our neighborhoods. So in short, I can go through that. It hasn't passed yet, but what I wanted to highlight was the need to fund food supply systems. Our primary systems of food supply have greatly become, and data showing that our neighbors are taking advantage of urban gardening. So I'm really pleased to say it was an awkward heckle of a fight in our work session, and we're still deliberating this, but Wasatch Community Gardens, it looks like they'll be successful with funding. That's obviously important and really important to me. There's other organizations in District 4 that will be receiving the funding, but in short, you know, a nonprofit worker, you know, somebody that needs federal funding, these funds are still in question whether or not they will be systematically applied to states and then cities. We may lose that. So it's a genuine conversation I want to start having with you all about happening in our taxation process and how will that affect our budget as we forecast revenue for the city. I was having a little bit of conversation with Troy in relation to how the legislature reacted, and I just want to bring up again that one, as we enter budget season this year, it's extremely important that we as community members look at the apparatuses and systems that we want funded. For example, if we want pedestrian roads and safeways, even if there's a moratorium study in place, we still have the ability to fund them, right, as we await that study to occur. We have the ability to fund deeply affordable housing, or in this case, if you look at our sheet, we're talking as an RDA again, coming up with financial programs to help our residents create equity and a shared equity model in our city. So there's lots of different ways where we can help develop. My job this budget season, quite literally, is to prevent taxes from being raised. I'm just going to be very upfront with you. There's already early conversations of overcoming a $60 million deficit, as I understand. I don't have that projection until finance brings it to me. It's a gargantuan hole to fill in a $2 billion bucket when the majority of that is being applied to quasi-governmental systems like the airport or public utilities, for example. In other words, I'm telling you today, like, my commitment is to not raise property taxes. You will not get that from me. I think we have squeezed our community and our working class far too often to try to save us and to save quite literally billion-dollar projects that should not be subsidized. That also means we'll have to have the hard conversations in the future of what assets should be subsidized by our city, what assets should be a public-private partnership, and what assets should be liquidated by the city. Meaning the city shouldn't be in every development project. We don't have the ability to do that. So I just kind of want to set the tone. It's going to be a hard budget year. We had to face a whole hearing where many nonprofits got cut in funding this year. And a lot of them are closing their doors. Green Lunchbox, for example, closed their doors. They're voted to disintegrate the program. It's just another example of good work and community-based work that actually funds jobs and creates solutions for gaps in our system that are no longer going to exist. So to me, that is a huge concern, to hear that neighbors won't have access to these tools that they normally use. On top of that, I do want to highlight for you, there's a Historic Landmark Commission meeting tomorrow. I'm going to do better about highlighting these. I've asked my team to help me catch these in advance. We usually wait as a council for the transmittal to come over. This is for the Untitled Ventures LLC. Going to talk about the contributing and non-contributing homes. So if you look at it online, and I'm sure I'll be happy to pass on this information. You can go and testify or email in your comments. It's certainly a project I support because what Trolley Square Ventures is trying to do is they're trying to make space for a parcel to build condos. And right now the pro forma is showing that these condos will come in at an affordable rate of around 350 to 400K. So we need density in District 4. We need to create room and supply. So this is one of the ways we can activate and help our neighbors. And again, lower and decrease that cost of rent or home ownership. In this case, it would be home ownership. Final things I wanted to highlight. I know Andy and Lauren have been staunch advocates, so I just want to highlight their work. They went above and beyond to highlight our MU8 consolidation that's happening in the downtown. Some of you may have heard or have been in the meeting when planning came to talk about this. Through these conversations and through their advocacy, they've been able to help me shape conversations with my colleagues where we're coming up with solutions today. I don't have them in front of us. I know you're going to talk more, so I don't want to steal your thunder, but I did want to highlight, again, out of this community council, we have staunch advocates, believe it or not, and I can't believe Annie actually made her way down the stairs. I hope I can take the stairs. In the building now. Okay, good. But I didn't watch you, so I wasn't sure. That's just, these are the masters now of community advocacy, and in a world where your federal government and your legislature isn't listening to us, our neighbors, our neighborhood. One thing that I know for certain, and that I feel very proud and consistent of as a neighborhood, is that we can achieve these small changes. It is going to take persuasion and it's going to take educating the elected officials, obviously, but it is possible to overcome even some of our most gargantuan lifts, like upzoning and trying to amend side yard setbacks and finding solutions for historic designated landmarks in our city, helping educate the council on that process and how it should be updated. So I just wanted to end saying thank you because you educated me on a subject that I was not an expert on, and it's helped, you quite literally helped advise an architect and everybody else that served on the council. So thank you to Annie and Lauren. I feel really good about where we're at. So I hope by the next meeting, the Samson and Altadena will be in process of becoming a local historic designated landmark site and recognized by the city in a way where it doesn't overshadow or encumber the residents that live there. It's just it's a small example, but it's a mind example. And I don't think we've had constituents do that in a district in a long time. So thank you for sticking with it. I know it's been hard and sometimes intense at moments, but it's also a necessary dialogue that can be diplomatic and can bring some solutions made. So thank you so much for being involved. Thank you. Okay, any questions? Cassie?
For the affordable condos that you were talking about,
yeah,
can developers now build sellable housing like condos, or is there still a stuck where they're afraid to build them?
Yeah, so they've always been able to. Obviously, the liability, the insurance model, and then their underwriting has changed. The developers that are building in District 4 are developing because there's such a great supply of rental units that there's a really dramatic, really there's a dramatic demand is what I would say for housing and the housing product of a condominium. In short, these people, like Trolley Square, I can assure you they're not developers. It's the Samani group and household, if anyone knows that, they are chemical engineers by trade. They made it big in the 80s and 90s. And so this is their way of creating preservation of the Trolley Square Mall, as we know, as well as trying to create these, family-sized dwellings. This particular venture, the Trolley Square Venture LLC, they care about building a long-lasting impression on the city. So we're lucky that they're considered in the developer field, they're considered more micro or granular. They're like boutique developers. So short answer, developers could always build them. Long answer is there's still risk involved. In general, I met with a bunch of developers and like financial forecasters to better understand what's happening in Salt Lake. The next 2 years are going to be really tight margins. I don't think we'll see a lot of building capacity in the next 2 years. We'll see applications. I think we'll see it towards after the 2-year mark in 2028, 29, and so on. We'll see that kind of erode and increase in building again. But right now we're kind of on a downturn. You think that's fair to say? In terms of projection?
Gotta move on to the next.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Afterwards.
I'll be around.
Yeah, and we're gonna move on to Detective Stewart. Keep in mind, we are aiming to get out to the library roof 6:35. So everyone keep your updates as concise as possible. So Detective Stewart, are you able to update us now?
Yes, thank you, Austin. Because it's the second day of the month. Hi everyone. Thanks for being here. I really love this group because you guys are so involved, and even though, you might be small in number from time to time, everyone is very, very active and passionate about your community. So I appreciate that. Because it's the second day of the month, our crime statistics are not updated on our website yet, but in our meeting, our crime is down by 2% last month. Our average call response time for level 1 crimes, which is you need help right now, is less than 5 minutes. And, that varies depending on where officers are, but it's a pretty good number to be at. Our goal was under 10, and I don't know who had that number, but nevertheless, we've halved it. So it's really, really good. I wanted to touch just briefly on an initiative that we have for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is April. We did a press release today at press conference and contacted as many local bars, restaurants, and nightclubs that I could to get on board with our message of we're here to help you if you feel uncomfortable, if you're on a date, or if you see someone who looks uncomfortable. The message is to step in, help them, or if it's yourself that you are just feeling really weird about the situation, go to the staff at our bars, restaurants, and nightclubs, and they are there to help you. I got a really positive response from everyone I reached out to. We put together graphics, which is training for employees, and a poster to put in the bathrooms that just says, are you on a date? Are you uncomfortable? Or have you been assaulted? Go to the bar, go to the staff. They're there to help you. They can walk you to your car. They can call you a ride share. They could call police, whatever you want. So I just think it's a really good message to put out to the public and to our business owners that when you come to Salt Lake City, you are safe because we are a community and we're watching out for you. So I feel really, really passionate about this subject. I've been a victim of sexual assault myself, and it's just so prevalent that we know for every reported assault, which we don't have that many. We only had about 3 in a month on average last year, but even 1 is too many, right? But the number of unreported incidents are just vast. So raising awareness and empowering people to step in and help each other, and also sending that message that our business owners are here to help you. So come to Salt Lake because it's a safe city. Does anyone have any questions for me this month?
Yeah, we've got one question and then we've got to move on.
Oh, I just wanted to ask if you go into like a restaurant or bar and they do not have those signs in the women's bathrooms, how would we get like that sign posted?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you asked that. I can send anyone the PDF. It's not a private thing, it's not trademarked or anything like that. If you go into a place and you would like for them to have the training and the poster to hang in their bathroom, I'll send you the email. I'll send it to Austin and Brandy, and if you would like it, let me know. I'll send you that PDF and print it out. Yeah, even if you're going somewhere and you want it in there, you want their staff to, just raise that awareness that they're there to help their people that come. I think it's really, really good PR for anyone that owns a business. Come here because our staff is looking out for you. Put that in the bathroom. So yeah, I highly encourage that it be passed around as much as possible. So working together, we can really make a difference. So thank you.
Thanks, Detective Stewart.
Thanks,
We're going to move on to Tim, if that's okay. Tim Cosgrove from the mayor's office.
Thanks for including me. I got a lot of information to share. I don't know if I can get through it all. Seems like springtime hits and we just explode. So there's so much going on. First thing, good job, Ava. I really appreciate your updates and you do such a thorough, intense job. Thank you. And Jenny, you get some accolades, and Justin, is he here?
He's not here.
So Central City Award was awarded $2,000 for the Neighborhood Engagement Fund. That came from the mayor's office. I wasn't allowed to be on that committee because I have favorites. But you did it yourself, and I think we see your work. So the cleanups that Brandy leads and Ben with the neighborhood watch programs and the pizza in the park, those are the kind of things that they see in their work on transportation with Troy and the bike lanes. Those are the kind of things that they see, how engaged you are and how much they want to encourage that, and it's inspiring, and we want to be part of it. So if we can give that little bit of seed money to help you continue your efforts. I just wanted to thank you again for applying for that. Yeah. Salt Lake City Planning Commission has a position open for District 4. So I've made about 6 copies if you're interested. I know Andrew was looking at that in the slide. But that's critical. We need someone really good. It is intensive. They provide a lot of the information to City Council for local long-term vision for the city, what you want it to look like, what you want it to see. It is time commitment. There's a $500 stipend and you get dinners. But you meet the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month. Yeah. So I encourage you to look at that. What are you doing at noon tomorrow? You're applying for the Department of Sustainability Landscaping Equipment Grant. That's what you're doing. It opens at noon tomorrow.
What does that mean for like your individual property you can get?
Exactly. So if you have a gas lawnmower, a gas air power blower, you can get $300 towards a electric lawnmower.
Can we get it for planting garden pots, like just pots?
You can apply for it. It's open to everybody for your garden. They're trying to encourage clean air. Open to you tomorrow. So the information is on their website on the Department of Sustainability.
It's electronics. You can be home and do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like they give a little bit less if you don't have a gas, so if you have a gas, you can trade it in and get more.
Correct.
But yeah,
So
I got last year, it's great.
they're doing some workshops out in the community. For one is at Home Depot. Sorry, I'm speaking so fast. I'm trying to get all this information out. April 19th. So
Home Depot on 2100 South, and then Ace Hardware has two, one on April 26th, two at April 26th at two different locations. So you can come, I can forward you that information, yeah.
Will there be any kind of e-bike incentive program that's similar?
There is an e-bike incentive, that's a separate grant program, they usually do that in, yeah, they do, there was one by the county and one by the city. This particular one, by the Department of Sustainability for landscaping equipment. April 7th is the Pothole Palooza. It's the kickoff where our streets, you identify a pothole, send it through my SLC. You can get on my streets. They have a little form you can fill out anonymously. You don't want to be recognized. Put the information on there. Last year we got like 6,000 potholes. Yeah.
It's a record-breaking pothole.
The year before it was like 5,000, so we keep increasing it by 1,000, but to that end, we are finishing up the last year funding our future for road construction projects, so that it sunsets at the end of 2025. The city with the investment and you, the voters have voted to approve the general obligation bond that gave $87 million for those road improvements. We identified 4 to worst failing roads first. It became the worst, became the top. So we were able to get to almost 20% of those, which in its capacity, we spend $87 million, we still have like $563 million in outstanding road repairs that we did do. So that's just trying to get you this number of things in unmet need. There will be a open house for meet your contractor, your construction workers at Highland High School, May 10th for the 1300 East. Is that right? 1300. So if you're interested in participating at that Highland High School from 5 to 7. Don't forget, we kick off the construction on 100 South here from Campus Drive to 1300 East, or that curve section area. It'll be beginning around the beginning of May, so they're waiting to the end of University of Utah's spring semester. They're going to try and get it all done before fall semester. Birthday, April 19th, Jordan Park. If you want to sign up as a volunteer, it goes from 10 to 1. The mayor will be out there. She'll be speaking. We'll be planting some trees. And if you don't end up participating, participating in your neighborhood cleanups, that is always very much appreciated. April 26th is the Neon Luxury Japanese Festival. If you haven't been there, you gotta go. It's one of the best festivals in the city. It's just off 3rd West, so 268 West, 1st South, which is Japantown. Starts at 10 a.m. The drummers come out, everybody's dancing in a big group, makes it so much fun. The culture is spectacular. They have all sorts of good food. The arts are gorgeous and beautiful, so make sure you participate with that. Living Traditions Festival, May 16th as well. Lots of variety, lots of food. I don't need to eat anymore. Let's see, you had somebody to talk about 195 Senate Bill. Yeah. Okay. And then my community office hours, I'll be at Church and State over here. April 22nd, Tuesday from 1 to 3:30. Come talk, bring any concerns, questions, complaints, or just want to talk. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Tim. I quickly have the Heart team give a quick update, and then we'll do committee updates really fast, and then we'll do our tour.
Yeah, not a whole lot. We got a resource fair next Friday at Pioneer Park. The month after we do library square and always, doing that every month. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Okay.
Any questions, Rooftop?
I'm also scheduled to talk about the referendum for HB.
Oh, yes, let's hurry, we'll hurry and do committee updates, and then we're gonna do that, and then we'll do our tour. So Brandon, do you have anything really fast?
Now that the weather's gonna be better, I'm gonna start planning the litter walks again. So I will let people know, and we can put in the newsletter with the next one.
Yep, just send on some info.
And not much else going on, aside from what she said, but next month I'll probably have something more big to present.
Our capital improvement program project, which is on 680 safety improvements. Our next big action will be the mayor's budget, which I think will be around our next meeting in May. So we'll see what the timing is. Livable streets should be coming back next month. They communicated with us. I think if there's one more thing. But I think that's, I guess Senate Bill 195, we'll talk about it. So yeah, keep it really brief.
Awesome. Great.
Just getting ramped up still. I have a couple folks that are interested in participating in the Land Use Committee, so we're gonna start a separate meeting here and yeah, start responding to ideally every single application that comes in Central City. That's the goal. Yeah.
And I think that's it. Noah.
Immediately first up, you're doing, would you have to take our stuff?
If the room is on, I would take it with you.
Okay, I'll try and keep it quick. I know we're
Sorry.
No, and I already told some of you outside, so. But yeah, I'm just here to talk about the HB 267 referendum that we're trying to get the ballot initiative. I'm sure a lot of you already heard about HB 267, but essentially it was a bill that was passed on February 14th or signed into law then. And none of our public unions in Utah are allowed to collectively bargain anymore. So they can't negotiate for benefits, wages, safety conditions. So huge deal for teachers, firefighters, nurses, any of our public union members. So we're trying to get enough signatures to get that on the ballot and give the people in Utah a chance to vote on it. I'm sure many of you have signed, but if you haven't, I'll be here when we all go out and you can sign with me. And yeah, I'll keep it brief.
Thank you so much. Make sure to all right, so are we ready for the?
Yeah. If you are comfortable taking stairs, go take the elevator up to the fourth floor. And then there's going to be a single flight of stairs that's going to each there. And if you need an elevator in the advance for the room, come with me. I'm going to take you to an elevator in the back.
I would, it's not locked, so.
This guy is. There is. The mayor. Just.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes. We're chatting earlier. We chatted. Okay. Yeah, I'll be back.
That's
You going up?
Yeah.
Nice. Have you been up there yet? Yeah. Oh, cool. Just want to go? No, because I gotta see it. Yep. Anyone else need to come? No, I gotta need to sleep, so I gotta sleep. So. Thanks. Hey, you too. Thanks.
We're coming back here.
Yeah.
Are you staying here?
Yeah, because my tongue was.
Oh, yeah, I'm on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, in this case, how you doing, Jenny?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. You guys
Good.
got any concerns around the neighborhood I can help you with?
Oh, that's so nice to ask. Thanks. Um, no, not that I can think of right now. Right now there's a lot of unsheltered friends, just in front of that senior center on 7th South next to Topher.
Yep.
But
Okay.
they're great. They're really I feel so bad. There's this guy that he just got his car towed a couple of weeks ago. It doesn't work. And he's just sitting there like on the sidewalk for almost 2 weeks now with all of his stuff. It just is sad.
Yes.
So
All right.
yeah, but no, I haven't heard anything from neighbors about our area. I try to talk to those people as much as I can, just so they know who I am and, you know,
Yeah.
see how things are going for them. But what
All
about you?
righty.
How's your work been going?
Well, obviously we haven't quite solved homelessness just yet, so there's that. But what are you gonna do? We'll keep at it. Otherwise, in the meantime, just trying to mitigate concerns where we can and try and balance that with, we can only push people around so much when they don't have any place to go. So
Exactly. Yeah. Where are they supposed to go? That's the question, right?
yeah. Um, so I have heard a lot of comments lately about Liberty Park. How about you? Have you experienced anything? Do you go there much?
I go there about 3 times a week, walk my dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Like it seems like the police are always out. Hi,
Hi,
Austin.
Austin. I didn't realize you were still there.
I'm just listening. There are
Oh,
there are people at Liberty Park that seem like they're camping, but I'm not there at nighttime, so I don't know if they stay.
yeah.
Well, they get kicked out. Cops are kicking them out of the park at night when the park closes, which is great. That's, true for everyone that supposed to clear out of the park. But of course, they've got no place to go from there. So then they end up in park strips in front of people's homes. So that too gets aggravating. So, yeah, just trying to figure out how to balance it all.
Well, I was
Mm-hmm.
happy to see those vacant office buildings across from you get demolished.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, the old Project Reality. Yeah, having a clear lot. I'd love to see that happen, honestly, on that corner of State Street and 7th South.
Yeah, no,
But
absolutely.
we got to get internet properties on board and
Mm-hmm.
get them to take care of their stuff.
They're holding out until the hospital builds, then they can flip it for a higher price, right?
It's quite likely, yeah. No doubt they're land banking that space because they haven't done anything with that property for decades. But oh well. Actually, Austin, have you heard anything from inside the city on whether or not they're gonna change any of the zombie building, either fines or
I don't.
taxes or?
No, I'm not following that because it's not related to the RDA.
Yeah.
But I think last year there was talks about increasing the fines. I don't know if that ever went through.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm hoping for something.
Yeah.
We can hold them accountable for those spaces.
I think a lot of people are because anytime you've got a boarded building in your neighborhood, it's just got crime.
Yeah, and solve problems. You bet.
I've been seeing some people out around your shelter that are like cleaning up. They look like security guards. Is that a new thing?
No, not new.
Okay.
We've got security for probably last year or more. Goes out at least 3 times an hour, just to check on things, checking all around the property and trying to observe and report and be as neighborly as we can.
Yeah.
And then there is Advantage Services that comes in as well every Monday through Friday, to clean up, pick up any litter along the block, and they cover State Street to Toffer Park, I want to say.
So Dennis, yeah, I think last year the state said it wanted to stop doing the small shelter model and they wanted to concentrate everything into one campus. And they said that they would reposition what the small shelters are, that they would serve a different type of clients. Do you know where that's headed and what would happen to the Geraldine King in that situation?
Don't expect anything to change too drastically regarding the Geraldine. If there is, that was one particular board member, one or two, that had ideas of what could be, but we're far away from any of that actually happening. They are looking to open the new campus model. And that is going to be a very large. The number keeps growing. Started off around 1,000. I think they're now up to planning for 1,600-ish beds. Finding a large space, and so that's what the mayor, for example, Mayor Mendenhall put into her public safety plan, and she presented that to the state, offering up, hey, we'll even volunteer a piece of property for the initial placement for that model, because the state was originally planning on doing a semi-permanent tent, a sprung structure, something similar. If you've been up to Snowbird for Oktoberfest, that kind of tent, very big, virtually permanent, but not really, but could definitely work for just setting up a whole bunch of cots inside pretty quickly, while they figure out a more permanent version. So all the details are being worked out, and as you guys know, it gets really tough trying to figure out, to find 40 acres where you can build anything is tough, and trying to find a parcel that large and get everybody to go along with it, all that, whatever property owners you might need to get on board for it. It's not easy. So that keeps getting pushed back. It was originally, when that initial conversation occurred, they were supposed to have it open and ready to go by this October. And now we're looking for, it's now pushed back a full year to hopefully have something going by next season, next winter, or not next winter, the winter after. So October 2026. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And then even if that does occur, the original plan, of course, was that it would take over for the emergency shelter side of things, and that would allow us to turn the HRCs into more of a specialty population. So we could do, people that are employed and have rent payments in hand just need to find a place to live, so that you're on making those next. She's getting away from you, Austin.
Okay. You
Oh man, she is running.
Okay.
So yeah, we could do that with specialty populations, perhaps have one for, take the Gail Miller and turn it into domestic violence or whatever, especially in light of the reductions that the state has done for domestic violence shelter funding this year. Yeah, who knows? So when the time comes, we'll be willing to be nimble to adjust, adapt to fill whatever gaps we got to fill. So yeah, anything's possible. Nothing at all has been determined, and it's still there's a lot of details to be ironed out.
Yeah.
And of course, ultimately, that's still just a band-aid, another larger band-aid, but we need housing. Kind of like what Ava was saying, we need density. We need it everywhere. We need so much more housing for people to actually solve homelessness. I mean, the problem is a lack of a home. We need homes.
True.
What about you, Jenny? You hearing any rumors of anything you got questions about? I might be able to clear up.
No, I am curious though, with this whole business on the Jordan River Trail and all that right now.
Mm-hmm.
What's your organization's approach to balancing like public health and safety with the rights of these unhoused individuals?
Try not to infringe on either.
Yeah.
I mean, you certainly have to balance that. We've got to respect people's personal rights, but also hold them accountable for, drug use, sales, all that stuff. I would say, quite frankly, that the biggest problem along the Jordan River Trail right now is not homelessness at all. It's about the drug trade. It's about accessibility. That there's a reason why North Temple and Redwood Road is, everything radiates out from there because it is such a major intersection. There's so many ins and outs. People are frankly pulling through, stopping in, picking up the drugs and rolling off to the suburbs and all that other stuff. So it's the drug trade itself. And a lot of the dealers will use the homeless population to hide. So yeah, we've got tips and tricks for picking them out. I definitely, if we're going to walk into a camp, we're looking at shoes. If someone's got a clean pair of shoes, they are probably not experiencing homelessness. So yeah, we can certainly see like, wait a minute. There were, let's see, this past January when I was doing pit counts, as I'm walking, we were going along Jordan River Trail and stopping at each camp, talking to everybody. And then there was a couple of guys who happened to be just right in front of us. We kept leapfrogging. Like they're also making stops at each camp. It's just door to door salesmen, right?
4 a.m. and 6 a.m.
No, we did that because of the density and/or wanted to be able to see people. So we did that during the day. So after everybody else went home at 6, we'd go back out from 8 to noon and hit the trail, hit things like the mountain camp up behind Victory Road, that kind of stuff. Things that you got to do hiking up there. You got to do it during the daylight. So
yeah.
And sure, they were friendly enough and all, but we have no doubt why they were there and what they were doing, stopping at each site. That's the problem. That's where all the problems originate from. So, yeah, honestly, if we had more homes where, the people that are out there had someplace to be, then you wouldn't have such a ready audience or customer base for those budding entrepreneurs.
Target.
So, yeah, for us, we certainly don't want to have any part of it either. And frankly, we see far too much of not just drug trafficking, but also human trafficking. There are times when we could walk into what had been perceived as a campsite, and I've seen 6 tents up, and but only one of them's actually occupied, and that's by a girl with her pimp outside handling the customers. It's and they've just got multiple bays in which they can put people to work. So, but seeing, man, sometimes it is so concerning seeing how the workers, how they've been taught to behave or react to some of the people working them. The traumas that are inflicted are just unimaginable. So yeah, it's stuff like that that is the problem, rather than just the fact they're homeless. So I'd love to have places for people to be, because honestly, once they're inside a center, then they're nowhere near as likely to have to be involved in that sort of thing. They don't have to do it to survive. It removes that aspect of things, and we can start working on getting them a place to be permanently.
Makes sense.
Was there a specific concern you had on how to balance, or how it might not be balanced appropriately so far?
No. Hi, Maggie. Hi. No, not really. Just, my profession, I work in public health and I work at the Camden Health Building, right next to the Jordan River Trail, and we do cleanups there once a year
Yep.
with, we do camp cleanups. And so I was just wondering, like, that public health aspect side of things, how you guys take care of that, and especially their individual rights too. But yeah,
Yeah.
I picked up so many needles and drug
Yep.
paraphernalia this last time I did it. It was crazy.
So what do you do exactly in public health?
I work for the State Department of Health and I'm the Public Health Infrastructure Grant Director.
Okay.
So we have these funds that may be taken away at any time because they're
I was
ARPA
gonna
funds.
say, I'm so have they not already
Well, they
been
they
taken
have.
away? I mean,
There were about 180 people that are affected, but 37 in total at the health department are let go. Um,
yeah.
but there's a large portion of people being put on my grant that they deem like, even though they're in sunsetting programs, their work is critical right now. So we're trying to find ways to make that work. But
Yeah, I know. County, I think, has 18-20 or so as well, that in that same boat. And
yeah,
they're trying to make it work. Yeah. So that kind of stuff's got to be really interesting for you these days.
just a little stressful, like I don't know if I'm going to have a
Definitely.
job every day.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Because
I
what
don't
was it
know.
yesterday that so many people showed up and found out that they had been fired by the key cards not
Yep.
working?
Yep.
Yeah, well, no, I definitely understand the concern and wanted to make sure that we're respecting both aspects. But that was part of, when I was on city council, I had a big hand in creating the rapid intervention team so that we could go around and clean things up, but not necessarily abuse people's civil rights. Simply it should just be a question of, look, just pick up your stuff and move to the side so that we can keep things clean for everybody.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's tough.
Can I ask a random question just because I don't know who to ask it to? So
That's what
I'm
I'm here
gonna
for.
ask you.
Absolutely.
It's personal. There's this lady that has been on my street a couple days this week. I'd never seen her before. She's kind of younger and
Okay.
she wears a trash bag and you can tell she's just like really far gone. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And she kind of like huddles into corners of the street and I just don't know like what do I do in that situation? Do I just ignore her? Do I say, "Hey, are you doing okay?" Like, what's the right thing to do? Because I don't want to be like I want to be concerned, but I don't want to be like up in everyone's business
Yeah.
either. You know what I mean? Like, what's
Totally.
the right thing?
Yes. That's a little tough because it's got to be very specific to each individual situation. Mostly, I would suggest be human. Feel free to just talk to her, so long as you feel safe, because you've also got to be aware and maintain your boundaries. And I wouldn't recommend inviting anyone into your home, that sort of thing. But yeah, if you think she needs to be checked on, say, hey, are you okay? If you need something, what is it? And how can I help point you in that right direction. And also, they may say, hey, I need a home, I need $1 million, or maybe I just need some water. If there's something there that you can help them with, great. If not, maybe pointing them into the right direction as far as getting to Weekend Day Center or checking in at the HRC, at the Geraldine there, first thing in the morning, so that we can see if there's a bed available that day. If there is something more to it, though, if it is, clearly mental health concerns, you're not sure about their personal safety, you say they're wearing a trash bag, can I assume whether, are they wearing anything else or just the trash bag?
Yeah, they're wearing clothes, not the trash bag.
So if they're just trying to keep dry because it was pretty damp out yesterday, okay. But if it's, things are getting a little weird, then maybe it's worth calling. Should be, just so I can give one answer, you should be able to just call dispatch, the non-emergency line, and let them know, just be very specific about what exactly the concerns are. Ask for social worker, either police or fire department social workers. I personally, especially in your neighborhood, prefer the fire department social workers. They tend to show up without guns. And they're stationed right there at, well, normally it's Station 1, but it's currently under construction. So they're over at the public safety building, but still very close to you. And they're fantastic. They've got a team, it'll be a social worker, an EMT, and an SUV that come out and can check on things. So requesting them specifically would be great. You could also ask for MCOT, the Mobile Crisis Outreach Teams out of the university. And then just so you guys know, the Huntsman Mental Health Institute just opened up this week. They did their grand opening, ribbon cutting ceremony and all that on Friday. And so that one, the receiving center, it's down on 33rd South, and has created a space where people can come in and from there be triaged into whether you need mental health, physical health, all of the above, and get you to the right options. So rather than jail, for example. So yeah, there's definitely options out there. Just call dispatch and let them know exactly what the issue is so that they can try and get the right people in there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet. And definitely, if any questions or thoughts, feel free to call or text anytime.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
Certainly.
Yes.
Probably stand close to this because a lot of the slides are probably going super fast.
Okay.
I'll keep it brief.
Okay. Let me just download it.
For a second, I thought we were twins. No, like not seeing the kids.
One is bigger. 4 and 1. Okay. Okay, you good with that?
Sure, I'll just
scroll through. Okay. This is everyone. And what's your name? Julian. Okay. Hey, thanks. I hope that was a fun tour. It's special to get that tour. So we've got Julian here. He works with Silverado Development. Are you with the architecture firm or are you with the
Method is the architecture, word of development.
You're with the developer. So yeah, talk about your site, talk about the rezone proposal you've got. And you got a lot of neighbors that live around that area that could give some feedback or some opinions on it.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm with Silverado and the landowner hired us to help them with this zone change. And we worked with Method to come up with a concept to see, okay, with the zone that we're in right now, what can we do today? What could we do if we change the zone to the D1 zone? And I have a couple slides prepared that we can go through pretty quick. I think You guys are probably most interested in somewhat of the concepts and how things with these early concepts look like. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can answer at this stage. So, and if there's any questions while I do it, please just lift up your hand and I'll be happy to answer questions throughout the presentation. But that'll be quick, it'll be like 3 minutes. So here you can already see our first concept, but first I'll show you kind of where the site is. It's 265, and currently the landowner has an office building on this. And as you can see, there's a lot of surface parking. So kind of being this close to the downtown zone, we have a very underutilized site right here. And even the office building isn't even fully leased up. It's about half empty. And because of that, they were thinking about how can we use this site better. So just, you are all very familiar with this neighborhood. And just to kind of show the zoning, we have the D1 zoning right here. And we touched the D1 zone, which made us feel like we have a good chance at getting this zone change. And kind of like making use of all public city improvements, bike paths, green belt, and all the things that the city has, green loops or green loop expansion, proposed new bike paths, and kind of like come up with a concept where we can integrate with all of that. So if we look at today's site, and if we look at what we can do with the current zoning, we can go up to 75 feet. And with design review, we could possibly go up to 95. And to maximize what we can do on the site with the requirements that we have within that zone, most likely a design could look like, we call it the Texas donut. And if we go for the zone change, if we could get the zone change approved, instead of kind of like blocking off this whole site and the whole block, these concepts that we've worked on kind of show more of open access for the public, kind of like activating this corner, having restaurants there, having some retail there, being able to kind of walk through an elevated path fully throughout the site. And again, this is just a very early concept. And the changing it from the REV zone where we can go 75 and maybe 90. If we get approval, we have to at least go 120. So this is kind of where the big difference is in the zone. But it gives us that more density that we can kind of like create something that hopefully is architecturally a little bit more exciting for everybody to look at and to walk through. And I have a couple more renderings where you can see that as well. So these are just a couple projects that kind of inspire us. So here right now, it's the Via Verde in New York that kind of shows the design that inspires us. And in Austin, Texas, kind of right here, the retail that is sitting on the corner. And let me zoom in. Oh yeah, quickly before I show some other renderings, this concept just kind of shows the access that you have throughout the site, bike access, walkable throughout the whole block, the whole 2.2 acres. We've been thinking about like there could be like car share or car drop-off zones. And we've just really been thinking of how can we activate the site the most, that it doesn't just feel like another 2-acre block that just has a 7-story building. So obviously in today's world, in today's market, if we develop something, there's code, there's certain things that we need to adhere and to. And so like our idea was that we have kind of a staggered building, and throughout the building, we have all kinds of different units. It could be for rent units, some of them would be for sell units. We'd have some more low income housing units and a good mix of different sizes that speak to different people, but also very important, what we want to create is we want to expand downtown, this kind of walk to the east. But then at the same time, still provide space for families where we still, because a lot of the developments have like studios and one-bedroom apartments. So we really want to still have three-bedroom apartments here where a family feels welcome. That's the general idea and concept that we have in mind. Question. Yes, please.
What's the lower yellow building to the left?
So we have the church right here,
Yes, I know.
right? And kind of like knowing that the church is right there and kind of trying to put ourselves into their shoes. We kind of wanted to stagger the building a little bit away from them, so we don't have the bigger tower on their side. And so like have only a 7-story building, for example, there, and then stagger up. And then the construction of that building would be a different kind of construction here. So this is a more expensive steel building. Here we could do a podium building, for example. And this would most likely be a little bit cheaper for us to build. And so the idea would be possibly kind of like having different rents in different parts of throughout the building.
Okay, one more question for you, and that's why, and then one to the planner. So what zone under the consolidation will the RMU be wrapped into?
That one is RMU 8.
It is RMU, or not RMU 8, I'm sorry, it's MU 8.
It's going to be MU 8.
It's going to be MU 8, and MU 8 allows 90.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then the other one, Sarah, is where's the required community benefit?
So what they have said that they would do is they said that they would provide affordable housing. And so like, we haven't gotten into the details on it, but what they have said is that they would provide affordable housing, possibly commercial space for local businesses or nonprofits. And they also have, I think it's 34 3-bedroom units in the current plan. So those are the family size units, and that's another one of the items that's in the list of potential community benefits. And that's where for everyone else that's here, I think it was in 2023, the city amended its requirements for rezones to require community benefit. Meaning property owners wanted to rezone the property, and so it needs to include something like those things I just said, where it can include infrastructure improvements, public open space, things like that. And so that's what they have said that they were trying to develop an internet that would be conservation to have those items.
Right. Yeah.
Couple questions. In general, this looks really lovely. I'm always a fan of expanding downtown. First of all, so you talk about that central corridor, that green space.
Yeah.
Would that be like a privately owned public space?
It would be public space, so basically that would be public amenities, and then you'd have, for example, restaurants and cafes that are publicly available, but then there will be some sections, obviously, that are attached to the building that are only for residents. And let me quickly just go to a picture so you can see it better. Like, as you can see here, like this would be all public space for people to walk through and cross throughout the whole block.
Okay. Next question. In your preliminary plans, obviously, discussed how this is preliminary. How much parking are you looking at? Are you trying
1-to-1?
1-to-1? Okay.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, given, that is permissible under parking regulations?
The current parking regulations for RMU permit that they would require that the new parking regulations for MU 8 like they require about that. And then not the one parking regulations, but I think that they will.
I mean, that certainly does seem high for expanding into for a expand downtown.
Yeah.
Right. Given that I believe D1 is, with the parking forms, doesn't require almost any parking.
Yeah.
Going for 1-to-1, like with the Astro, like with the other sort of bigger towers that have started to go up downtown, it's a concerning trend and one that, given that you're bucking the trend in terms of building multifamily or family size units, potentially giving us affordable housing, I would hope you would evaluate the possibility of bucking that trend at least a little bit.
Yeah.
With parking as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I, again, this being a very early concept, we just have to kind of evaluate as we go through this and just see as we go from a concept to actual kind of architectural drawings. And then as we commission market studies, that'll show us what do we need to do. And there, like, it's not just what do we want to do, but like getting bank financing, we got to look into what do we need to provide to be able to even get bank financing, because then sometimes they look at, well, you don't have enough parking, you have too much parking. So there's a lot of things that we as developers can influence. Then we have to code, and then we have to adhere to a lot of other institutions to be able to get it done. Please.
I just want to comment that this is not D1 and you're trying to create a downtown island in a much lower density area. What we have on that block from 100 south to 200 south on 300 east is a high density of very low income housing. There's a building for homeless people, and there's constantly a lot of police activity. Police consider that a hot zone for the city. And I think adding more low-income housing and adding higher density in an area that is mostly 3-story buildings is really not good for that neighborhood, and is not going to help elevate the low-income people there. Adding more low-income people, I think we have to think more of why are we creating a downtown island to upscale this one particular property that doesn't really fit within the environment that's already there, and of all the places in the city where we can disperse more low-income housing, should we keep adding it to that one city block that is having a very, very high crime problem?
We will have to do some sort of low-income housing to get any project approved, I assume, correct?
It's definitely one of the key.
Yeah.
You know, the city is forming around that, and so it wouldn't be entirely low-income housing, it
No.
would be a number of units.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yeah. We got a lot of hands.
I think that having more people in the area, fit the area, because there's more Isaac Street, right now it's pretty much like that. There's this.
Activated space.
Yeah, it's activated space, the public plaza, all these things, so I love this, yeah, I love that.
I mean, one of what we feel like, and you guys are the neighborhood, so you know best, but kind of looking at where downtown is expanding right now, where the really big projects are, like obviously with Smith Entertainment Group and the Miller Group, and like having billion-dollar projects, like eventually I personally think that you'll have expansion into kind of every direction with downtown and the downtown zone, and us just being right on that edge. We feel like it's a good thing to do, and instead of taking today's zone and building the kind of building that I just showed, I think it'd be a really cool thing to go build something similar to what we're showing right now.
This area is like half empty parking lots right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
It's like depressing a lot around the neighborhood. There's 2 blocks right there, I don't know about that, I've seen it,
Appreciate that.
What's the percentage of low-income units that you're looking at?
I actually don't have an answer to that yet. Doing the zone change, there's a certain amount that we have to do. And you have an answer to that?
No, that's something that you really work out as part of the community benefit.
Yeah. So I think as we continue to go through this, that's a number that we'll have to discuss with the city and the city council, and we haven't gotten to that point yet, to be honest.
I think it's really important to ensure that there's a high percentage, especially given other comments about how the residents in that area are already low income, and we don't want to be like pushing people out and pricing people out of their existing neighborhoods. So I would encourage like 50%, please.
Thank you.
You'll probably be able to comment on that
At some point. when-
Yeah, there'll be a public hearing.
So you'll want to make sure to keep it.
Yeah. We can switch this over to Amy.
Any more?
Yeah, we gotta move on just because we still have 1 to 2 agenda items. We're skipping the one about the Senate bill, but we're trying to end at 7:30 still, so.
Okay, well, if there's
You
any
talk to
other
him
questions, I'll be happy to leave my phone number or email address. If anybody wants to contact me.
What's the timeline?
I mean, as far as I understand, it's gonna take about a year for us to do the zone change. And then from there, it takes probably about a year just to do the design and. So like, I would say we're like probably 3 years out from starting to build. To be somewhat realistic, might be more, probably not less.
The 45-day public comment period, then 30 first.
Yeah, thanks.
They submitted a notice of intent to their comments on that.
It's a zoning amendment application, and so we have a 45-day public engagement period that are not remembered tonight. So you can submit comments. If you want my art, and then maybe the chair of the planning commission, the applicant, the council.
So we still have Andy and Cindy. Right into the break. Oh, okay. Cool. Okay, so just so you guys know, we are skipping this. We were going to get an update from Angela Price from the city's administration. She was going to tell us about SB 195, which I believe is the transportation bill that limits traffic calling on Collector and Arterial streets in our neighborhood. We could ask her to come next time if that's something really should be you guys.
Okay, you guys, I'm gonna take you through a slide deck, but this model just shows one example of things that I'm gonna talk about that can be an issue throughout the city. This just happens to be one I know well because Lauren and I are in these buildings. So these are 1905, 1906 Sampson Altadena buildings. Right now, this used to be the Utah Film Society. This was an engineering building, fully occupied until developers bought it. The last 3 years, they're sitting in disarray, broken windows. The police are here at least once a day. I'm not really sure if it's crime or they're just used to being there. Right now, there was a design review to go beyond the code 2 years ago for a 12-foot height. Like the developer wanted to take these buildings out and put a 12-story building here, where at the time only 75 foot was allowed. And they also wanted to, so yeah, Lauren points out, if you look at the property lines, this dark blue line shows where they're supposed to be able to build up to. So that means from the rear property line to the blue line is 30 feet. In our zone, you're not supposed to build in the 30-foot setback. And that's good planning because if someone's side of the building is there, they're allowed to build up to the property line. There needs to be space between that building and this one. That's the reason why there are rear yard setbacks and good planning. Okay, so they were approved for this 12-foot building and they got approved to only have 10-foot setbacks. They didn't get approved for that. The city said you have to come back and try to respect the rear yard setback, especially for the historic property. Why does it matter that it's a historic property? A lot of these 3-story walk-ups that are all over Central City and other parts of the city were built in the early 1900s and they have sandstone foundations. At that time, they never perceived that there would be steel tall buildings with pilings driven into the ground that crack these foundations and they cause the building to collapse when they crack. Now, the city asked them to come back to redesign so that they respected rear yard setbacks. They never did that. You know why? Because the zoning word says you can build with 0 rear yard setbacks. So right now they're holding an extended approval for 12 feet that would never be allowed in any weight now. And if it gets, the zoning word gets approved, they can now build a 12-foot building with 0 setbacks. So what does that mean? Because we have two other properties here.
No
One-
sunlight?
What?
No sunlight?
So it means a lot of things. It means no sunlight, but it means the Wades can now build a 90-foot building with no setbacks. And the Sitaros can build a 90-foot building with no setback. So what does that mean to these three properties? They have all these walls with no windows. They're all built up to each other. It's a planning building nightmare. All those ends of the buildings have no value. What does it mean to these 1905 buildings where middle-class people are scraping their dollars together to restore the building? It means when the driving snow and rain come, they hit these buildings, we go into our backyards and flood them, crack our foundations, and we will lose our buildings. So I'm going to present to you about the zoning code. I'm going to go through it really quick. There's 3 amendments we're asking for. I want to thank Eva a lot because she connected us with all the city council people to meet with. And by the end of this week, we'll have met 6 of 7 of them, and they've been really helpful. I also want to thank Cindy Cromer. If people don't know her, she's been doing this stuff for decades, and she's really a great resource to guide you, besides the fact that her and Lauren and Justin have been helping me around with mobility. So I want to thank them. Okay, so Justin's gonna blink through, go to the next page. Okay, before it went to community council, we had people in Neighbors Who Care, other peoples in the neighborhood coming and talking and planning about these same issues. We really came in support of the setback for landmark properties, because a lot of us, the Hollywood and others, are historic national landmarks. And we thought, yes, finally, they're going to step away from the building. What does step away mean? It means instead of going 125 feet next to a 38-story building, we need to slowly step away. So like Brandy said, so we can have some sunlight and, you know, respect the architecture that a lot of people like to see when they come to the city. The other thing was we opposed the rear yard setbacks for the things I just said. It cracks the foundations. So next slide. The next slide, this is on the proposed zoning code. We were all excited about just what I said, 45 degrees from the landmark property, they have to step the building back. We thought, great, it's all cool, right? So next slide. The next thing is I pointed out to them, it says 25 feet, whereas at least in our block, our city block, which is 300 south, 300 east, 400 south, 200 east, they're 30-foot rear yard setbacks. So I want them to correct that. They haven't corrected it yet. Next slide. Next thing is right here in January, Chrissy from the planning department came and presented that RMF 35 and 45, which is different than the zoning modes. It's different areas. And she kept talking about local historic landmarks. So I said, well, what does that mean local? Does that include national? And she didn't know the answer, which surprised me because she's a manager in the planning department, but she said she'd get back to me and she did. So the next day, she sent us an email and she said, no, we're not protecting national properties that are landmarks, only the local ones. Why? Because in the local Salt Lake City, they say you're not allowed to demolish your building, therefore we'll protect it. But since the national landmarks don't state that, we won't protect it. Doesn't make sense, does it? Okay. So I think a lot of people in the city with national landmark properties don't understand this code is not protecting them. That's a big issue. Okay, let me give you a little history. The planning department in the 1980s, Bill Schwab, a planner, proposed about 50 of these 3-story walk-ups to go on the national registry. This is before the big local Salt Lake City. Sampson Altadena, this building was one of them. A lot more were then. At that time, the owner of the building didn't put it forward, but in 2009, now condominiums, the 17 owners, we went and did the effort to make it on the National Registry, thinking we were going to protect it, and we got it on there. We did all the work. In 2023, we went to the planning department and said, we want to be on the local registry also. They said, you don't need it. Why do you want to bother? You get all you're going to get from national. You know, it's not worth it. You're not going to get any other protections. That's what we were told by planning 2 years ago. Now, we know this January from Chrissy Gilmore that there are additional benefits. So our board, Warren Finella sitting there, she went and she started reading through the legal application and we were getting everything together. We already had stuff from 2009, the masonry work that we did with the state, all ready to go. She met with them and all of a sudden they created rules just for us, okay? It says in the guidelines that if you're a homeowner association, the applicant president must attach a notarized letter stating they have notified the owners of the proposed application, there's a legal vote, and that you're moving forward. And we did all that, we were prepared to do it. But when Lauren went to the meeting, they said, oh no, we went to a lawyer. Since you're a condo meeting, we're gonna make you have every single owner sign. I don't know how many of you live in condo buildings, but half our owners rent out, they don't answer emails, they don't answer phone calls, they don't even live near here. It's impossible to get to them. So we went to our attorney and said, are they allowed to do this? He says, no, they're not allowed to make special requirements for you. But these are obstacles for us protecting our building because in the code, they're choosing to only protect certain buildings where I guess from a higher level, you would think that a national property would be of more importance than local, but that logic doesn't go through with the code. So we replied back saying this, we are going to go through forward with the local application as best we can. Why is this important? All these historic buildings and sandstone foundations, which are throughout the city, are at risk of not us choosing to demolish them. They'll be accidentally demolished by the high rises put next to them if they're not protected appropriately. So, you know, knowing this history, that there is a history of this happening, we want to prevent it. With all these, the other thing that we talked about is the rear yard setback. We want them protecting the rear yard setback next to historic properties so that the water and the snow can be absorbed by ground across a lot of land and not flood the historic properties. This is a checklist of a document by the National Park Service that was created specifically for guidelines for when you want to build a large structure next to a historic property. We're asking that they modify the zoning merge so that this is incorporated, so that it's a requirement by the city that developers have to comply to protect adjacent properties if they're going to build a higher building. The second amendment we're asking for is we're asking them to add the word "and national," so they don't only just protect the Salt Lake City local national properties, but also the national, because they need, the residents that live there need their buildings not to collapse just as much as the people who have a local designation. Before I say the last amendment we'd like, I asked planning to consider if the only reason that national can't be protected is because there's nothing that says we won't demolish our building. Why can't there be a legal document that we sign if we're already national that says we agree if we're made local, we will not demolish our building? So that we don't have to go through a 1, 2, 3 year holdup to get the protection we need from people building really high. We think that's fair. The last thing is we want planning to correct the RNE rate, that the city setback show what it really is, 30 feet, not 25, and with a little 7 that says a rear yard setback of new construction should be maintained within 30 feet of a property line adjacent to a national or local historic property, simply so that we don't collapse and destroy these structures. So we're asking for these things, not out of vanity, not because we think our buildings are more special than some future building, but you know, it takes a lot to get your first property, your second property. It takes a lot of sacrifice. And the land rights of someone that owns first should be equivalently respected as those that want to build next to us. We really ask the city to not make us have to borrow millions of dollars to go to a lawyer to protect ourselves. Let's make the zoning code fair for everybody. And that's what we're asking for. And does anyone have any questions?
When's the next opportunity for us to help you say something?
Okay, so May 7th, the city council is having the public hearing for this. You could still write something to city council before then. You could always show up at a city council meeting and ask to get 2 minutes. But the public hearing is the 7th. Lila?
Yeah, so you were talking about a rear yard setback in the directly together, the rear yard. So when you're talking about like a rear yard setback, that's here, right?
So just because this is 300 east.
Right.
This is 300 south.
Yeah.
So if you're a property here, your rear yard setback's gonna be facing south.
Right.
But if you're on 300 east, your rear yard setback stays in west.
Right.
So part of the reason you have a rear yard setback is because this property is allowed to go to its side. Okay,
Right.
so by them having a rear yard setback, that allows them to have windows on their side yard. But if they build all the way to the rear yard, then this person who already is allowed to build to their side yard, they cannot build to their side yard because they don't have windows. So you're actually taking away land rights from there. So whoever gets granted the build to zero setbacks is getting special dispensation over other people.
But I mean, your building doesn't have rear yard setbacks at all,
So,
correct?
no, this is a rear yard setback to here, this is a rear yard setback to here, and we didn't build to the side yard here, okay?
That's the side yard, so this is the rear yard, how big is your rear yard setback?
Well, this is one property,
Right.
okay, our rear yard setback is 30 feet. That's what we have, 30 feet, and that's what they have now, and that's what we want maintained by code.
So the as-built is a 30-foot setback.
It's 30 foot.
Got it.
And there's good planning reasons why there are maintained rear yard setbacks. So the concern in the zoning verge is they're eliminating that. They're saying 0 to whatever, so that means it's up to the planning department to decide who gets 0 and who has -0. Because if this place builds to 0, this person loses their right to their side yard setback. Okay, they should be able to build to the property line, but they no longer can because for some reason they're favoring this development and build to the property line. It's not a impartial way to do zoning. Thank you.
I just want to state from my personal experience that this damage, this collateral damage during demolition and construction, demolition is a big issue. It's real. My property on First South was damaged with the demolition of Bryant Community School prior to the construction of the existing community school. It literally pulled 2 buildings apart when they demolished the historic building. I was across the street from public utilities project and my building shook while the new building as well, the city park is building. There are 2 buildings in South Temple that literally collapsed when their own contractors were working. So this business of being around reinforced masonry structures was based on violation. And you're being collateral damage.
Yeah, we can't afford to lose it, but it's, it's sort of buildings, that there's something going on, so.
Okay, so I want to respect my time, sorry.
Thanks, Sandy.
Thanks, guys.
I think that's it.
So,